HOA complained about my fence height, so I built a gargoyle wall with brick and spikes. How would you respond if an HOA notoriously obsessed with uniformity complained about your perfectly reasonable fence, pushing you to construct something truly unforgettable? The scent of blooming jasmine and the cheerful chatter of my exotic birds usually filled the air in my backyard, the aviary gardens. My home, a vibrant, eclectic bungalow, was a labor of love, a sanctuary where I, Cassandra Cassie Bloom, a renowned sculptor specializing in fantastical creatures, could freely express my artistic vision. Our property lines were marked by a charming, waist-high wooden fence that had always served its purpose, allowing light and air to flow freely. Then came Karen, not with a friendly wave, but with a stiff, formal letter and a face radiating disapproval. I was meticulously tending to my prize-winning orchids when a woman in a perfectly pressed pantsuit, her expression pinched and severe, strode up to my existing fence. This was Brenda Albright, the notoriously rigid president of the Rosewood Row HOA, a recently established, exclusive community that had expanded right up to our property line, across what used to be an open field. "Ms. Bloom," Brenda announced, her voice clipped and precise, carrying over the gentle chirping of my birds. "Your quaint fence is a direct violation of Rosewood Row's uniform aesthetic and property value preservation covenants. It's too short, lacks architectural dignity, and fails to provide adequate visual screening for our discerning residents. Furthermore, your unusual garden ornaments and the noise from your birds are creating a public nuisance, detracting from our community's tranquil ambience. I demand you immediately replace this inadequate barrier with a 6-foot, solid, neutral-tone privacy fence, confine your noisy birds, and remove these disturbing garden elements, or face escalating fines and immediate legal action." She held up a thick rulebook, tapping a manicured finger against a highlighted section. The main conflict, audacious and utterly infuriating, was laid bare. Brenda, a predatory HOA president, was attempting to dictate the very nature of my personal space and artistic expression, all under the guise of aesthetic uniformity and property values. Her demands were not only ludicrous, but rooted in a profound sense of entitlement and a pathological need for control, treating my cherished home and unique lifestyle as a personal affront to her rigid, prejudiced vision of suburban perfection. Her attitude was one of blatant contempt, believing her personal preferences granted her the right to intrude, dictate, and impose rules on sovereign land, completely ignoring artistic freedom and personal property rights. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger simmering within me. "Ms. Albright," I said, stepping closer to the fence. "This fence has been here for decades. It's well within legal height limits, and it's on my private property. My birds are legally kept, and their noise is simply nature. My garden ornaments are my art. Your HOA has no jurisdiction over my property, and I'm not a member of your association. I suggest you turn around and take your uniform aesthetic back to your side of the property line before I consider taking this matter further." I even gestured to the clear, faded "no trespassing" signs nailed to the old fence posts. Brenda, however, merely scoffed, flipping a page in her rulebook. "Nonsense, Ms. Bloom. Your antiquated fence is irrelevant. Your art and birds are clearly impacting our community harmony. And while you may not be a member, your proximity impacts our values, giving us the right to demand compliance. You'll be lucky if I don't sue you for creating a public nuisance and obstructing our committee's efforts to maintain order." Her tone was chillingly arrogant, her eyes holding a glint of perverse pleasure, as if she reveled in her perceived power to command authorities. Within minutes, a county code enforcement officer, clearly alerted by Brenda, pulled up, looking utterly bewildered by the scene. Brenda immediately launched into a dramatic, fabricated account, claiming I was aggressively resisting and threatening her. The officer, trying to make sense of the bizarre situation, began to question me. Then, Brenda's audacity escalated into a direct, shocking act of vandalism and artistic sabotage. While the officer was distracted, Brenda, with a triumphant sneer, pointed to a meticulously crafted, life-sized ceramic dragon sculpture I had just completed, its scales shimmering in the sunlight. and remove that hideous monstrosity. It's a fire hazard and attracts vermin, she shrieked. One of her HOA volunteers, a nervous-looking man clearly trying to appease her, hesitantly approached the sculpture. With a grunt of effort, he shoved the heavy ceramic dragon, causing it to topple and shatter into dozens of irreparable pieces, shards of ceramic scattering across my lawn. Then, with a perverse sense of satisfaction, Brenda herself grabbed a large can of kill-all industrial weed killer from her golf cart and, with a vicious grin, began to spray it directly onto my prize-winning orchid collection, meticulously cultivated over decades, causing their delicate petals to shrivel and brown instantly. It was a calculated, malicious act designed to destroy my most valuable artistic work, cripple my livelihood, and eliminate a cherished personal passion, demonstrating her willingness to inflict maximum emotional and financial damage. Right after Brenda's act of destruction and brazen botanical assault, a crucial twist unfolded from an unexpected source. As Brenda sprayed the orchids, my prized African gray parrot, Professor, who had an uncanny ability to mimic human speech with perfect clarity, perched on a branch just above Brenda's head. Unbeknownst to Brenda, Professor had recently learned to operate the voice-activated recording feature on a small, discreet digital recorder I kept in his cage for training purposes. Professor, mimicking my voice with startling accuracy, had just activated the recorder. The recorder, dropped by Professor in his excitement, had landed perfectly, capturing Brenda's entire destructive spree in chilling detail. Her explicit commands to destroy the sculpture, the shattering of the ceramic, her triumphant sneer, and her distinct, loud declarations as she sprayed the orchids. Crucially, the recording also captured a muffled phone conversation from a few days prior, where Brenda was heard speaking with a local city council member, explicitly stating her intention to declare eminent domain on my property, using fabricated claims of biohazard and public safety risk due to my plants and birds, all to acquire my valuable land for a new luxury park for the HOA. The larger consequence of Brenda's actions became terrifyingly clear. My rare orchid collection wasn't just a personal hobby. It was the subject of a groundbreaking scientific study by the local university's botany department, researching a potential new biofuel source. Her deliberate act of destroying these genetically unique plants, combined with her attempted fraudulent land seizure, wasn't just a petty act of vandalism. It directly jeopardized crucial scientific research, potentially setting back environmental advancements by years. Her petty vendetta had escalated into a direct assault on scientific progress and ecological innovation, elevating her personal malice to a matter of profound global significance. Armed with Professor's irrefutable audio recording, including the eminent domain conspiracy and the fabricated biohazard claims, the furious lead botanist from the university, and my own burning desire for justice, I was done being subtle. When the county code enforcement officer, looking utterly perplexed, finally returned to us, Brenda was still loudly complaining about my unruly property and dangerous hobbies. "Officer, he's resisting. His property is a menace to society." "Actually, Ms. Albright," I retorted, my voice cutting through her bluster, amplified by the news cameras that had just pulled up, having been tipped off by the university. "Your property value concerns are about to become an arrest for felony vandalism, animal cruelty, reckless endangerment, and criminal conspiracy to commit eminent domain fraud." I then played Professor's high-fidelity audio recording onto a large, portable speaker for the officer and the news crew. The raw, unedited audio of Brenda's malicious acts filled the air, her explicit threats, her command to destroy the sculpture, the shattering of the ceramic, her triumphant sneer as she sprayed the orchids, and the damning audio of her explicitly stating her plan for eminent domain and the fabricated biohazard reports. The officer looked aghast, and the assembled news crew gasped. Brenda's face went from smug confidence to utter, absolute terror, her jaw hanging slack as the gravity of the situation and the unexpected legal twist dawned on her. No, that's impossible. That's a trick. He's lying," she shrieked, desperately trying to manipulate the situation, her voice shrill and breaking. She started pointing fingers, trying to blame Professor, me, anyone but herself, her eyes wide with unadulterated fear. Just as her pathetic denials reached their peak, the silence was shattered by the distinct wail of additional sirens. More county sheriff's vehicles, but also a sleek black SUV marked FBI, Public Corruption Unit, pulled up. Out of the lead vehicle stepped a grim-faced special agent, followed by a representative from the National Science Foundation, NSF, Research Integrity Division, and the furious lead botanist from the university. The NSF representative spoke first, his voice cold and cutting. "Ms. Albright, your actions have directly impacted a federally funded scientific research project and risked the loss of invaluable genetic material. This is a severe federal offense, carrying significant prison time." The FBI special agent stepped forward. "And Ms. Albright, we've also been investigating reports of widespread illegal zoning manipulation and financial irregularities within the Rosewood Row HOA, specifically regarding the coercive acquisition of adjacent private properties and the diversion of HOA funds to shell corporations ostensibly for community beautification projects that never materialized. Your documented acts of felony vandalism, criminal conspiracy to commit eminent domain fraud, illegal chemical dumping, and reckless endangerment align perfectly with these ongoing investigations. Furthermore, we have evidence of significant sums of HOA funds being diverted to offshore accounts linked to your shell corporations, ostensibly for development projects that never materialized, and a history of targeting independent landowners for illicit acquisition and harassment." A nervous murmur rippled through the gathered Rosewood Row residents, who had followed the commotion, as one stammered to the FBI agent. She told us the beautification fees were for our new private lake and golf course expansion. We had no idea the money was being sent to her sister's consulting firm in the Cayman Islands." It was a chilling revelation. Brenda wasn't just a busybody. She was a criminal mastermind, systematically defrauding her own members, attempting to seize valuable research land, and committing serious environmental and scientific crimes for massive personal profit, with the aesthetic conformity complaints merely a cover for her grand scheme. A past incident, whispered among her former colleagues, revealed that Brenda had been previously disbarred from a regional planning commission for systematic abuse of public trust and fraudulent land dealings. The consequences for Brenda Albright were immediate and utterly devastating. She was arrested by federal and local authorities on multiple charges, including federal offenses for bribery, environmental crimes, conspiracy to commit fraud, felony vandalism, reckless endangerment, and later, as the full extent of the fraud was uncovered, for massive embezzlement, wire fraud, and racketeering. The Rosewood Row HOA was placed under immediate federal oversight, its assets frozen, and a full forensic audit exposed tens of millions in stolen funds, a systematic scheme orchestrated by Brenda and her network. Her carefully cultivated image as the benevolent community leader shattered into irreparable pieces. The HOA residents she had once intimidated and defrauded now turned on her, furious at being manipulated and exploited, their HOA funds stolen, and their properties facing environmental and legal liabilities due to her criminal actions. Her social circles, built on an illusion of wealth and influence, abandoned her completely, unwilling to be associated with such public disgrace. Her vast real estate holdings, her fortune, her status, her perceived power all confiscated as part of the ongoing investigation and subsequent lawsuits. She lost everything: her freedom, her fortune, and her reputation. The ultimate irony was that her audacious attempt to destroy my art and seize my land led to the complete unraveling of her vast, illegal enterprise, culminating in a lengthy federal prison sentence. As for the aviary gardens, they flourished. The dragon sculpture was painstakingly reconstructed by a team of my artist friends, the orchids miraculously recovered with the help of the university botanists, and my garden, now famous for its role in exposing a criminal, became a thriving hub for artistic expression and scientific collaboration. The satisfaction was immense, watching her literal and figurative empire crumble before her eyes, a quiet triumph of justice and artistic freedom over arrogant greed and rampant criminality, narrowly averting a true scientific disaster. What's your take on this? When someone so brazenly abuses power, commits felony vandalism, endangers critical scientific research, attempts bribery to seize land, and defrauds an entire community, does their complete and utter downfall, even to federal prison, truly serve justice? Or is there a point where the consequences become too extreme?